Hey everybody, it's Allie, and I haven't done a tutorial in a while, so I thought I would show you guys this effect that I actually kind of stumbled across just playing in Photoshop. So I recently had this awesome shoot with Rachel. She was a vampire. She's bathing in the blood of her enemies or her victims or whatever, and I got to this part of the image, and I felt like I just wanted to add more. I felt like there was a lot of white space over here, and I wanted to really kind of maybe enhance the gore effect of it. And I had just recently seen a video on how to add some framing. And the guy that did that particular video, to tell you the truth, he really complicated it. And I was like, I think I can do this simpler using layer masks and layer effects. So this was the ultimate effect. And basically, I'm going to show you what I did. It's not going to be exact because I made one mistake when I did this, not thinking I was going to do a video. I didn't name the layer after the brush I used, and I can't remember what brush I used. And you can't really tell once you've clicked off the layer and once you've changed brushes. You just don't know where you were. So if you really, really want to know what brush you used and you're using custom brushes, then name your layer with the name of the brush. So let's start. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a blank layer. So I'm just going to pick a color first. So, well, I'm going to add actually I'm going to add what we would call a solid color layer. So first I'm going to just kind of pick a dark red because that's where I want it to start. And I clicked into my dodge and burn just to let my color picker work. And now I'm going to click to my top layer. And I'm choosing solid color. One of the reasons I like this is it's later. If you're like, yeah, it's not really the color I wanted, you can change it at any time. So I'm going to adjust it a little bit redder so it's not so black. And you're like, okay, Rachel's kind of gone. So the brush that I am going to do with this time is called the Texture Carve. So if you're doing proper protocol, you would name your layer with the name of the brush. Now, I want to just explain something. For those of you that are on Adobe CC, these brushes are free. You've got all these concept brushes, all of them. A lot of people don't even know you can get them. And all you have to do is, if you're in the brush layer, is you come up to your brush, your brush tool thing, go to get more brushes. And that will take you to a website, and you can download all these brushes for free. They're all yours. So anyway, I've got the Texture Carve brush, and I'm going to just check my brush settings to see what this brush is going to do. So let's see, like a lot of times I like to say, okay, like see, I can play with this and see what spacing it'll do. Maybe I'll space it out a little bit more and kind of want the brush to have a downward angle. So I'm going to change here where I've got my, this here changes the angle of the brush. You can see everything happening down here. This brush uses shape dynamics, so I'm going to see what shape dynamics are doing. And basically what this is a size jitter, changes how much it's going to change the size. So I'm going to pop my size jitter up a little bit. I don't want my angle jitter up high. That, see, it makes more like chaos almost. And in this case, I really want it to look almost like raining blood, so I'm not going to affect that. The scattering is just how, like, okay, so right now it's not highly scattered. So you can see what scattering does. I don't want a lot of scattering. I like the little bit of scattering they've got. So I'm going to leave that like it is. He's got some sort of texture going on here, which is probably going to be good. I'm going to leave that on. You can see when you take it off, it looks like that. When you leave it on, and I'm not sure what dual brush even means, because this guy does some stuff in these brush settings that I have never even seen. So I'm not even going to bother changing these, but you can turn them off, turn them on, see what they do. And a lot of times I just like to see what his settings do. So I'm going to click on my layer mask, and my layer mask is currently, everything is hidden. So clearly I want to bring some of Rachel back. And using my left and right bracket, I'm going to make the brush a little bit larger. I'm at 100% opacity on black, and I'm just going to start clicking in. And it's going to start bringing the image back. And I'm actually going to make this brush even a little bigger. So this is definitely not the brush I used the first time. So I found Rachel, which is what I wanted to do. And it's actually working pretty well, but what I don't like so much is the shape dynamics. I'm going to turn that angle jitter off so it really just keeps the same angle the whole time. So now I'm just clicking, and I want to get her whole face in there. So I can always go back in later and kind of clean up the middle with a round brush. It'll be a little faster. But I'm just going to keep clicking. And I want to bring in some of these candles. And I definitely don't want to just kill the top of her head. So you can see we're getting a very different look than I got the first time. Clearly I can't find the brush, but still. But what you'll notice is as I'm doing this, I'm getting a very flat effect. I mean, it's cool, but it's very flat. So I am going to want to add some dimension to this, and that's where the layer styles come in. So let's like say, okay, this looks pretty good. This is pretty much where I want it, except I am going to just go into my brushes real fast. My machine. Sometimes when I use a really big brush, you'll find this. If you use a really large brush, it eats up a lot of RAM, and then your machine kind of goes a little crazy. So I'm just going to go and grab a soft round brush and just kind of clean up her face a little bit. And I am doing this really fast. I would take a lot more time if I was, actually doing this. Okay, so now we've got like something pretty cool, but it's flat. So I'm going to double click the layer off to the side, and this is going to bring up my layer styles. And I am going to try adding a inner shadow. So that's adding a little bit of texture to it. And when you do these, like if you click the layer, you can see, okay, here's my inner shadow. It's creating a shadow. It's using black. I can change that color. It's pushing the angle up so I can push the angle down. I think I'm going to push the angle. You can move the opacity and you can move the direction of the shadow. So you can kind of, sometimes I push it way far off just to see what it's doing. And I'm going to see what inner glow does to this. And you can tell I had purposely put an inner glow that was in the reds. So I can turn that on and off and see what that's doing. And I'm going to add a drop shadow, which is going to give it the most amount of dimension. And drop shadows have a ton of help. And so like you can also play again with, you can kind of see it here. I want to see what my shadow's doing. I'm going to push in a little more opacity, but I'm going to take down the distance. And so drop shadows help because now it takes this whole image and it just pulls it forward. So the next thing you can do is you can go, okay, that's pretty much what I want, but I don't like the color. And this is why I like using a solid color layer mask, because now I can just go, well, what if I go darker? Well, that looks better. What if I decide I want it this color? That looks hideous. So you can play with it until it's right. And this is a heck of a lot easier than using your paint bucket tool and resampling. You just use the solid color layer. And there you go. I wish I could have found the brush that I did this with, but we get this instead. So one quick more thing about brushes, I'm just going to show you really fast, is to get these brushes, oops, wrong place, there we go. So these are the concept brushes, and I know I used one of Kyle's concept brushes, I just don't know which one. But you can see I've got all these various brushes, and if you go over to brushes, to the little dialog box, and you choose get more brushes, it's going to take you to the Adobe Creative Cloud website. And as long as you're an Adobe Creative Cloud member, I think that's the only way you get here, you're going to have the ability to download a boatload of free brushes. These are all included. Once you've got these downloaded, you can bring them into Photoshop. It's very easy. I actually don't keep all my brushes in Photoshop, so you can come into Import Brushes, and because this gets messy if you're constantly keep all your brushes here all the time. So you can see once you do Import Brushes, I can say, okay, you know what? I think I want to work with my scales brush, so I'm just going to grab that, double click it, and it's going to import it, put it at the bottom, and now I've got a new set of brushes. When I'm done with those brushes and I don't want them anymore, I just drag them down to the trash can. They're not gone. I can re-import them anytime I want. So I hope this helped you. Just wanted to give you a little idea on some fun things you can do with your brushes. Thank you.